Hey everyone, Shaun Stevenson here, author of the Throne series, and today we have another Nightmare Hall book to read, and that is The Wish, book number 4 in the series. Now, some of these books are ghost-written books. This one was written by Diane Hoh, as far as I can tell. And The Wish, oh wow, we got to talk about this book. It was so interesting and so fascinating, in my opinion, what Diane Hoh was doing here, and you don't totally realize it until the end. So we got to talk about this thing. Now, Nightmare Hall, if you don't know about this series, it is a spooky book series, and this book, you could jump into this one if you wanted to and read this book without having read other ones in the series. A lot of the books have like cameos of characters from different books like showing up here and there, but most of them have their own cast of characters that really take the story on and become the focus of the plot. And they often are new characters to the series where they're introduced and you're finding out about them as you go along. So you really can jump in. Now, some of these books so far, I've read 4 of them so far. Some of these books are thrillers, straight up thrillers. There's a murder, there's some kind of a, event that takes place, and you're trying to figure out who's behind it, what's going on. And they have been really good mysteries so far. I have really loved the mystery aspect of these books because it's been fun to follow along, try to piece things together. And this is the kind of series where you actually do have the clues you need to solve the mystery if you're paying attention, because Diane Hoh really kind of lays the groundwork for the clues, especially in this book. There are some different moments where if you are piecing it together and following along and keeping track of different things, you could figure out who's behind the stuff. That's all I'm going to say about that, because this one was so good. It was so much fun. I really enjoyed this one. Now, this one is about a girl named Alex, and she is at Salem University where these books all take place. And Nightmare Hall is one of the locations on campus. It's actually called Nightingale Hall, but because of some terrible things that happened there in book number 1, The Silent Scream, it became known as Nightmare Hall. And so the whole series is called Nightmare Hall, even though there's different areas of the campus that get explored in each book. So each book doesn't take place at Nightmare Hall. Sometimes Nightmare Hall has been mentioned in every single book so far, and it's only been gone to one time in the first book. In the rest of the books, we're in different dorm buildings. We go to some fraternities, some sororities, some different places on campus like the library or the radio station in this book. And you also have some different on-campus restaurants. You have the mall nearby, some restaurants in town. So there's a bunch of different places that the students all go and kind of hang out, and you find out different things about these different places throughout the books. So in this book, you have Alex, who is becoming friends with this little group of people, and they're kind of in that beginning college friendship stage, if you've ever been to college, and you have like these people that you started to meet, you're starting to hang out with, and you're kind of doing things together. Maybe you're studying together. Maybe you got to know each other because you're in the same dorm. Alex is in a dorm with these twin sisters, Jenny and Julie, and then they have their friend Kiki, and there's some guys that are there like Marty and Bennett and Gabe, and they're all football players. And Kyle too is another one. He's another football player. So you have this cast of characters, and they love to go to Vinny's Pizza, which is an on-campus kind of restaurant nearby. So they go to this Vinny's Pizza a lot, and while they're there, they find out one day that there's a new attraction in the back of the store. It is this booth that has this mechanical wizard inside that supposedly grants wishes and tells the future. And so they start messing around with it. They're putting it in their quarters. They're making up wishes like, oh, I wish I didn't have the same old boring face, or I wish I didn't have to give this speech, or I wish I didn't have to do XYZ. And so they make these wishes, and they get these little cards from the fortune-telling machine, and the cards say these little pithy phrases like silence is golden, and things like that. These just like those typical old like sayings that a lot of people know. Those are all on the little cards that come out of this machine randomly. And so the students soon find that their wishes might be coming true, but they might be coming true in ways they didn't expect or want. And Alex, the lone skeptic of the group, who didn't make a wish and didn't put in a quarter, is left to figure out what's really going on. Oh, this book is so fun. I had such a great time with this one. Now, I gotta tell you, this one's story structure is a little different than some of the other books in this series so far. In books 1 through 3, you had a very definite, like, a murder, you had an accident, you had something happen where there's like a theft, or, something got vandalized, all kinds of things like this, where that there's something going on and someone's behind it. And you're trying to piece together who it is. And the characters right off the bat are also trying to piece together who it is right off the bat. So that's kind of how the first 3 books have operated. This book is a little bit more not exactly non-linear, because it does happen in chronological order, but it's a little more of, what's actually going on here? Like, what's really happening? Because there are terrifying things going on that are taking place, but then it's not until about maybe 2/3 of the way through where we have the actual moment where there could be a murder. And we're kind of wondering, like, wait, wow, really seems late into the game when this is taking place. What's going on here? But when it all wraps up at the end and you find out what's going on, oh, it's a good time. I thought this was so inventive. Now, we know, if you've read any sort of like spooky books, you kind of know this formula of wishes gone awry, where it's like, the wish was made, and then it's something that they wished for, like they wished for, whatever it is, but then it turns out to, in a bad way, the wish comes true. We've kind of probably all read, if you're in this genre, you like to read these kind of books, you probably have read a story like this, or, seen a story like this on a TV show like Twilight Zone, those sorts of things. I always think of the classic, I'm about to spoil a Twilight Zone, an old Twilight Zone. So if you haven't seen it by now, good grief. But there's an old Twilight Zone where there's this guy who wishes that he could just be left alone in peace so he could read books, but he has these really thick glasses. And so when all of a sudden everyone vanishes on Earth, he falls and breaks his glasses and he can't read. And that's all he wanted to do, was have the peace and quiet to read. So it's like he got his wish, but it came out in this really twisted way. Like, that's what this book is kind of like in some ways. There is that element. And if you, like I said, I'm telling you this because if you've read anything like this, you're going to be like, I can see a mile away, like kind of what's going on here. And you might think you know what's up, but you don't know what's up. Oh, wow. There's a great twist, because I kind of thought, okay, I think I figured this out. I'm having a lot of fun reading this book still. I read this book so fast, I could not stop reading. And I thought, okay, I think I've kind of figured out what's going on. I'm having a great time still. But then there was a twist at the end that I thought, oh, I did not see that coming. That's really interesting. And I think what's fascinating about this book, what's interesting to me about it is, I think this book really dives into the idea of how far will someone go to get what they want? How far will they go to see what they're hoping for or dreaming for come about? And I think that's an interesting thing to think about, especially in like the college student realm, where college students, what they're basically doing is going to school to learn in order to get a degree, because they're hoping for something after that degree, like a better job, or maybe another degree, or just, knowledge or learning. There's all kinds of reasons people go to college. And so I think you have an interesting setup with that, where you have these characters that are thinking about this like whole idea of what do they want in life? What do they want out of life? And then you have this other element come into this book, which is so fun. I think that this had a really great kind of nostalgia factor. If you've ever seen one of these old kind of like, those like old booths, I think they were called like Zoltar. I'm pretty sure that's what it was called. Like the Zoltar thing where it's like this mechanical person in a booth that kind of like can tell your fortune, all those kinds of things. So Zoltar kind of stuff, that's immediately what it reminded me of the whole time. And I thought, oh, this is so fun. Like this wizard box in the back of the Vinny's Pizza Shop. Just such a great 90s kind of throwback. That was so fun, in my opinion. I really enjoyed it. You have, again, a great mystery, but like I said, it's not exactly the same kind of style where you're following clue to clue to clue and the characters are investigating what's going on. You have a different kind of setup here, and I don't super want to get into that because I don't want to spoil any of the moments. I will say, there was one sequence in this book that I was kind of confused about. And I went back and I reread it and I thought, what's going on there exactly? Like, what's happening with this sequence? Like, why are we doing this? Like, what's going on? And it was a little bit confusing. And so I kind of had to reread it a couple times. And even then I was like, well, I'm not quite sure what exactly happened there, but I'm having so much fun with the rest of the story. I'm just going to keep going. So there was like one kind of clunky-ish scene in the middle. But otherwise, it was a lot of fun. Now, I have to show you the step back art in this book because it's so great. I love these ones in the early Nightmare Hall books where they have this cutout on the cover. So right there you have Alex, I assume, right there on the cover. And then when you open it, dun, dun, dun. I love this so much because if you could see, that's like the mechanical wizard in the box. So great. I loved it so much. So this was definitely another fun entry in Nightmare Hall. So at the end of the day, I would definitely give The Wish a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Minusing that half mainly because of that confusing section that I was like, I don't know what's going on there exactly. But also for, that little bit of a different style it took me a little bit to get into. But I was still having, like I said, so much fun because I'm like, I've read other ones in this series. I know that this series is going to deliver. And it did in the end. It had a great ending sequence that I thought, oh, that's the kind of thing I'm here for. I love it. I love these twists. I love it so much. It's so much fun. So this one definitely does have a questionable supernatural element, I will just say. So if you're not into the supernatural elements, you might want to skip this one. If you're more into the thriller-y ones, then go check out book 2 or 3 or even book 1. Book 1 also is kind of similar to this, where it has this like questionable supernatural element. They're kind of like, was that a supernatural element or was it not? I don't know. And the book doesn't really say. Maybe. You have to read it to find out. So definitely check these out. You could read this one out of order. I think if you are into the more supernatural kind of books like this, you could read this one and you would dive in and I think be a little more, all right, let's go. But I think if you're more into the thrillers, go check out one of the other ones. Otherwise, you could dive into this one. It doesn't need anything from other books for setup. You can just dive right into this book and read it. So check out Nightmare Hall if you like spooky thriller kind of books. Oh, these are so much fun so far. I cannot wait to get to book 5. I am super excited to read it next. So until next time, everybody, keep reading. Bye.